Unfortunately, he could not be here face to face with us. The highly erudite and scholastic and highest academic performer in all the courses that he took, Father RANNIE AQUINO, the Dean of the Beda Graduate School of Law.
Good morning. Good morning, Senator. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Father RANNIE. And of course, we have the Dean of the College of Law of Lyceum, and then SOLEDAD MAWIS. Welcome po. Welcome.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Sol.
Oh, yan. Ako. Okay, and then of course we have the lawyer attorney Mark Tolentino of Legal Minds. He's a blogger on topics of Philippine laws and host of the online blog Legal Minds. Attorney Mark Tolentino. And the Secretary General of Kapisanan ng Social Media Broadcasters ng Pilipinas, or KSMBPI, Bernie MIAQUE. Welcome. I will start the first question, and Sonny, my co-host and co-moderator, will make the follow-up, and then we will just have a freewheeling discussion, since we all have 3 microphones here. Next time we should have more microphones. Okay. Article 201 has the subtitle Immoral Doctrines, Obscene Publications and Exhibitions, and Indecent Shows. And then what included as immoral doctrines, indecent shows, obscene publications and exhibitions, they are spelled out in the rest of the article. So let me pose the first question, and this can be answered by the panel, including Father Aquino online. What do you understand by immoral doctrines, obscene publications and exhibitions, and indecent shows? What makes doctrines, publications, and exhibitions and shows as immoral, obscene, and indecent? The importance of discussing this is that there have been moves by certain quarters filing cases against individuals who use cyberspace in promoting their posts. I'm not making a value judgment on the posts. So what makes a doctrine immoral, a publication or exhibition obscene, and a show indecent, whether in the media, traditional media, or in the social media? So this is posed to all the questions posed to all the members of the panel.
I was given the mic, but I think I should yield it to the best criminal law lawyer, and that's Professor ESGUERRA.
Well, this is a problem when you have lawyers as your speakers or resource persons. They can take the whole day and we will not arrive at anything. Anyway, the way I read the decisions of the Supreme Court on the matter is always the issue is what is the sense of morality, what is the sense of decency, and therefore what do we consider immoral, what do we consider indecent. It will depend, therefore, to me, on the circumstances of each case, the facts obtaining in each case. Because it at a certain point it may become relative. But what may be immoral to one may not necessarily be immoral to somebody else, or what may be indecent to one, is not is decent to somebody else. And that's why in that case that our good friend Joey shared with me last night, the case of Fernando, I went through it, and obviously the Supreme Court is saying that in the ultimate analysis, whether or not a particular exhibition, a particular material is an immoral publication, an immoral material, an indecent publication, will depend on the assessment of the judge. All right. So it will therefore that means to me, at least it's my take, that depending on how the judge evaluates the circumstances of the case, or the evidence, for instance, that had been adduced by the prosecution, it is up to him ultimately whether or not to say it is immoral or it is indecent. But of course, that doesn't mean that we don't have, each of us does not have the sense of decency or the sense of morality. Somehow we know what is decent and what is indecent. But it can vary from person to person. It can differ. And that's precisely why the Supreme Court said that the ultimate decision whether to say that a material is indecent, therefore violates Article 201, or material is immoral, or a show is immoral, the exhibition is immoral, will depend on the assessment of the judge. But we have to take into consideration the entirety of the circumstances of each case. You cannot simply say that it is indecent because a segment or a part of it appears indecent to you. Okay? Just like considering what in particular what may appear to be defamatory or libelous in a defamatory article, you do not take the defamatory word or utterance out of context of the entirety of, say, the article. So you have to take it in its entire context. So you ask me if there is a clear-cut definition of what may be considered indecent, immoral. I don't think there is. I don't think there is. But what the law clearly tells us is that these are the acts that will constitute the offense or the crime. So anything that falls within the definition of what are considered immoral doctrines, indecent doctrines, shows, etc., should fall under any of the enumerated acts here in Article 201. Otherwise, there will be no case. That's the standard, that's the objective. The standard objective of one where the on the basis of which rather the judge will base his finding or determination of whether or not the accused charged with the violation of Article 201 of the Revised Penal Code as amended will have to be found liable or not liable.
Thank you, Sigmund. Perhaps we could ask Attorney Mark, in your current practice, what seems to be the prevalent manifestation of perceived violations against this code?
Sama nga sa sinabi ni Yusek, when you say immoral, we base it on the totality of the evidence. That's why our plan in the case of Vice Ganda and Tony Fowler, hindi lang yung complaint affidavit yung i-present natin. Because the complaint affidavit only states na ito yung ginagawa ni Fowler, nagpakita siya ng sex toy, si Vice Ganda, at saka yung kanyang boyfriend, kumakain ng ice cream in front ng mga bata, hindi lang yun enough. So we will present an expert witness. An expert witness who will testify, what do you mean by immorality? What do you mean by indecency? Yung ginagawa ba ni Ms. Fowler or ni Mr. Vice Ganda, will it corrupts or na-corrupt ba ang utak ng taong bayan? So yun ang focus natin sa what do you mean by immorality. Kasi walang definition sa batas about immorality. Sabi lang doon sa 201, bawal ang criminal, ang immoral or indecent shows or publications. Of course, we will use the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court na what do you mean by immorality, what do you mean, but it's so broad. Broad siya na hindi mo maintindihan kung yung kumakain ba ng ice cream or icing, immoral ba? Indecent ba? That's why we want an expert like Father RANNIE AQUINO, like Dean of the Law, mga theaters, on the law, mga expert in psychology, expert in arts, who can testify, who will act as our expert witness to testify and to explain ano bang ibig sabihin ng immorality, ano bang ibig sabihin ng indecent publications. Kasi yung ginagawa natin sa kapisanan ng social media, we will just file a complaint affidavit based on our personal knowledge. Nakalagay doon, na-access namin yung show ni Tony Fowler habang nag-meeting kami sa coffee shop. Nakita namin doon. Tapos, we think na may violation yan, immoral based on our observation. But who are we? Sino ba si Secgen Bernie who can say na immoral yung show ni Tony Fowler na plastic lang naman yun na sex organ daw. Sex toy lang naman yun. Hindi naman totoong sex toy o hindi naman totoong sex organ yun. Sinasabi lang niya, nakita niya, nagsasayaw, kumakanta ng bastos. Yun ang sinasabi niya. But what is bastos, what is immoral, depende yan sa appreciation ng judge. So that's why, hindi enough yung sinasabi ng bastos. Kailangan talaga natin ng isang expert who will testify about immorality and indecency. That's why I think the best person who can answer that is Father RANNIE AQUINO, my professor sa law school.
Father, can you now intervene and answer the same question, or you may, in your explanation, can you also comment on paragraph 1 of Article 201, those who shall publicly expound or proclaim doctrines openly contrary to public morals. That's a specific act that is prohibited under Article 201. Father RANNIE?
Good morning, Senator. Good morning, everybody. Mark was my student in the Graduate School of Law, and I'm very happy that he's engaged in a crusade like this. Well, let me start first with the ethical or moral perspective, because obviously 201 is based on the moral sensibilities, the moral proclivity, the moral convictions of people. So, what is obscene from the ethical perspective? What is obscene when seen from the moral lens? In regard to sex, the trivialization of sex, when you trivialize sex and make sex a matter of entertainment, that would be obscene, because it has to do directly with the degradation of the status of the human body. The human body is the expression of the human person. It is the presence of the human person. And when the human body is made a commodity, like it is when you make sexual acts or allusions to sexual acts a matter of entertainment, then that is obscene. You know, when people are accused of obscenity or when people are charged with publishing, posting obscene material, the most frequent defense that they will raise is to claim that it is all relative. See, that's the fallacy of relativism. Well, if you carry relativism to its extreme, there will be no crime. Because insofar as the offender is concerned, what he did is justified. Insofar as the victim is concerned, what happened was unjustified. Similarly, those who act obscenely may say that, well, they were trying to entertain people, they were trying to do art, but in the eyes of others, it may be obscene. So, one thing we should do away with is the tendency to relativize everything. There have to be standards. And even if 201 is rather unclear as to standards and Philippine jurisprudence does not help very much, I would like to refer to the fact that in 3 cases, the United States Supreme Court, Miller versus California, 1973, Smith versus the United States, 1977, and Pope versus Illinois, 1987, laid down some tests, jurisprudential tests, for determining whether there's obscenity. The Miller test is 3-pronged. Number 1, does the average adult find that the matter taken as a whole, yun yung sinasabi ni Yusek, you take it as a whole, taken as a whole, appeal to prurient interests. So that's it. In the mind of the average adult, to the average adult, does he find the subject matter shameful? Does he find that it appeals to prurient interests? Number 2, does the average adult find that the matter depicts or describes sexual conduct in a particularly offensive way? When a physician, for example, talks about sexual intercourse and the process that takes place in sexual intercourse leading to the emergence of new life and presents it in a scientific manner, well, only a mediocre or a stupid person will take offense at that. However, the moment sexual acts between people, whether they be between persons of the same sex or persons of different sexes, are trivialized and made laughing matters and matters of entertainment, I would say that there, the average adult finds that the matter depicts sexual conduct in a particularly offensive way. And third, does the reasonable person find that the matter lacks serious artistic, literary, or scientific value? So, aside from consulting experts in ethics, in psychology, let's also ask, for example, in the case of Vice Ganda or Fowler, things like this, were their acts truly artistic? Because there are sexual depictions that are artistic. For example, one can easily recall sexual scenes in certain movies that are truly artistic. Then there is artistic value. But where something is bereft of artistic value and the only point is to entertain the people and make them laugh by depictions of sexual acts or the parodying of sexual acts, I think that that is obscene. I would also like to refer to the United Kingdom Obscene Publications Act. And under the UK Obscene Publications Act, what is obscene is a matter that tends to deprave and to corrupt persons who are likely to read, see, or hear the matter contained. And here we have to be very sensitive to the effects of what is seen and shown especially to children and to minors. That's what I have to share with you. Thank you for giving me the chance to share that.
Of course, that's just the first question. We have many questions to ask the panel. So may we hear now from Dean SOLEDAD MAWIS of the Lyceum of the Philippines College of Law.
First, good morning, everybody. You know, what Father said, sususugan ko lang siya, no? You know, there's a very recent case. This was decided in 2021. It's the case of Demata versus People. Mr. Demata, I believe, was the editor-in-chief of one tabloid. And he was charged precisely under 201. And not only that, he was also charged for alleged violation of RA 7610, which is child abuse. Authored by you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In that particular case, while he was the editor-in-chief of a tabloid, he was charged for allegedly causing the circulation of a photo of a minor, which was made side by side with other sexy, you know, and naked women. And he was charged precisely for under 201. Of course, he was acquitted because there was no proof that he caused the circulation. Sabi nga ng Supreme Court, hindi porke editor-in-chief ka, ibig sabihin ikaw na nag-cause ng circulation, because precisely there are other people higher than him who made the decision, who makes the decision as to what is published. But the reason why I wanted to discuss this case in relation to what Father said, aside from the fact that is there any value with respect to what was posted? There was one case, it's People versus Madam, which was cited in this case. May redeeming value ba yung nilalagay niya? Kung walang redeeming value, and it's only for the purpose precisely of catering to lustful intent, then you would say that is immoral. Now, but what is at the end of the day, and I agree with Professor, my good friend here, Professor, anyway, ESGUERRA, is anong standard ang paiirali natin? Because the basic I think criterion will be, it should be shocking to the senses. But the question is, whose senses are we talking about? But be that as it may, though there is no definite definition that was given to us by the Supreme Court, we know what is shocking to the senses. When you see a naked woman, for example, just as a tabloid, nothing, it was just placed there, no report, nothing. You know that there is no redeeming value. Ang natatandaan ko, when I was young, there was an advertisement. Hindi ko siya makalimutan kasi maganda yung pagkasabi, ang ginagawa ng matanda sa tingin ng bata, tama. So, ibig sabihin, pag yan maganda sa paningin ng matanda, tama ba yan sa paningin ng bata? Sometimes, we have to use the lenses of the young, because precisely we want to be sure that when the young, you know, become the old later, they will have a sense of value. And we as a Filipino people, I would like to believe, we have a standard aggregate Filipino values that we should protect now and in the future.
Okay. Bernie, would you like to chime in?
Thank you very much, Senator. I am now the Secretary General of the Kapisanan ng mga Social Media Broadcasters of the Philippines Incorporated. We were responsible in filing these cases, and I'm proud to share with everybody that the Senator who was the author of the law is also part of the Board of Trustees of the Kapisanan. And I was tasked by the board to file the case recently before the National Bureau of Investigation Cybercrime Division versus Tony Fowler. It is actually for the crime of cyber libel in relation to her utterances and calling us liars and the likes, the Kapisanan. And that we believe besmirch our reputation and tarnish our image as an advocate for doing our share to clean the internet, the social media platform. And I am honored, as a matter of fact, to be a part of this advocacy group. And we are determined to do our share in this regard.
Okay. Sonny, you'd like to make a follow-up?
Sa daloy ng panahon, no? Ika nga, nagbabago kasi yung ating mga values influenced by education, media, and lately, yung proliferation of digital means of communication. Especially online, YouTube. Dati, yun lang mga channels na television. Ngayon, accessible anytime, anywhere. So, sa tingin ba ng ating mga members ng panel, kailangan ba ng mas mahigpit na regulation para maprotektahan? Halimbawa, unang-una yung mga bata, almost vulnerable to these incidents of indecent exposure. Nagbabago na po kasi yung panahon. Kailangan bang baguhin na rin ang mga regulasyon?
Well, my take is that there is even over criminalization of certain acts, especially those committed against minors. And there's been a series of legislation on the matter to protect the young. And the last of which was actually an amendment to the anti-rape law provision of rape under Article 266 A1 and even RA 7610 on child abuse. What used to be statutory rape that can only be committed against a minor below 12 years old is now 16. So they have upped it to 16 years old. And moreover, if you look at special penal laws about exploitation of children, whether sexual or otherwise, there are a lot. Other than above RA 7610, which is the child abuse law, you still have the Anti-Photo Voyeurism Act, and then you have other laws referring to supposedly child pornography. Although the law on child pornography are A9995 or 9775, and now I am confused, has already been amended by a most recent law. And the sexual exploitation of children through forms of pornography is still punished. And if you will look at it, 201, Article 201 that we are talking about, it's a jump-off point. It's actually it's already spread its wings, so to speak, to include so many situations. All right, 7610, for instance, includes also child trafficking. All right, so child trafficking, among others, will include engaging children, enticing them to engage in prostitution. So, to me, if you ask me, it's actually the administration and implementation of the laws that is the problem. I think we have 201 is there for a long time. It's been amended twice. then we have these new laws. The question is, what is the government doing? I mean, the law enforcement agencies supposedly should be tasked, or are tasked rather, mandated to investigate and eventually prosecute. So, I don't think there is a dearth. Tagalog, sobrang dami. Sobrang nga dami. We cannot catch up. We each, each law cannot even catch up with the amendments. Especially during the time of former President Bigo. Yeah.
Okay. Ito, medyo controversial ito. Tatanong ko. Father, I already asked this, no? But let me repeat this question. Very concrete. If it is public policy or public moral that marriage is only between man and a woman, because the Constitution talks about the sanctity of life and the marriage as an inviolable institution, and that the family code defines marriage as between a man and a woman. If that is public policy or constituting public morals, what if a show or publication expounds and amplifies an opposite arrangement of marriage? Would that be violative of Article 201, especially in connection with the first act that those who shall publicly expound or proclaim doctrines openly contrary to public morals? So if a show hypes, declares, promotes same-sex marriage, directly or indirectly, will that be constitutive of an act punishable under Article 201?
May I answer that, Senator Joey?
Yes,
But one has to relate 201 with provisions of the Constitution like free expression and the non-establishment clause. So you cannot make Catholic social doctrine the basis of penal law or the basis of legislation. So I would say that if a movie, for example, depicts a couple that is estranged and each couple goes his own way with his or her own partner, and the story revolves around how they carry on with their lives, I think taken as a whole, it's an artistic presentation, and whatever sexual scenes may be present there are part of the sexual presentation of the movie. However, let's say same-sex unions are pictured, are mimicked, are alluded to with the sole intent of eliciting laughter, or worse, with the intent of enticing others to commit similar acts. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. Very recently, for example, on Amazon Prime, there was a movie that became very popular and is talked about by so many young people now, Red, White, and Royal Blue. And it has to do with the fictitious son of the President of the United States and one of the princes, a prince of the United Kingdom falling in love with each other. And throughout the film, there are sexual scenes between them. But on the whole, it's a story about how two people from two different cultures belonging to the same sex nevertheless can maintain a relationship that is more than friendly, that is very intimate, that is in fact sexually intimate. But taken as a whole, that is an artistic presentation. And I would say that that would be covered, that would be protected by the constitutional guarantee of free expression and the non-establishment clause. However, when somebody performs, shows, demonstrates sexual acts, whether they be heterosexual or homosexual, with the sole intent of making that a matter of a spectacle, of entertaining people, of eliciting laughter, or worse, of enticing them to sexual proclivity or promiscuity, that's where I draw the line, and that's where I say it's criminal.
Just based on the discussions of Father, I just was I recall, that this movie, Brokeback Mountain, it's a story about two cowboys, and then the two of them fell in love and they did things. And it was shown in the movie. It was critically acclaimed. It was never banned here in the Philippines. Taken as a whole, it was a good movie. It was a saga of, the difficulty of maintaining a homosexual relationship, of trying to hide one's identities and feelings because it's not accepted by the community. But nobody talked about it being criminal in nature because as a whole, it was an artistic movie, and secondly, it has redeeming features. But another point I would like to raise is whether, engaging in homosexual relationship is unconstitutional. Reading the Constitution, there is nothing in the Constitution that really restricts marriage to husband and wife. It is only in Article 1 of the Family Code where the law specifically provides that the union should be between man and woman. And that's the reason why in the case of falsies, the petitioner precisely raised the constitutionality of Article 1 of the Family Code because he argued that there is nothing in the Constitution that restricts marriage to be between husband and wife only. Sadly, however, it was dismissed by the Supreme Court because there was no justiciable controversy at that time as raised by the petition itself.
Excuse me, I just like to react to Dean Mawis. Dean Sol, you know very well that you and I are good friends, and I respect you a lot.
Yes, Father.
However, I believe you're referring to the Falsis case, no?
Yes, Father. Yes, Father.
Yes. The only problem I have with the argument of Falsis is that he says that the Constitution mentions nothing about marriage between a man and a woman. But actually, if you go back to Section 12 of the Constitution and you use an originalist interpretation of the Constitution, where the Constitution says that it recognizes the sanctity of family life and protects and strengthens the family. Well, what did family mean at the time the 1987 Constitution was written? I think there is no doubt that by an originalist reading of the Constitution, family meant union of husband and wife and children. So on that score, I would disagree with the petitioner in that case. But you and I, Dean Sol, are in accord with the fact that where a presentation in its totality is artistic, then I don't think we will find anything criminal there.
Yes, Father.
Thank you.
Father. Yes.
Okay, I would like to proceed from Father's mention of artistic presentation, which is also used by Dean Sol. Parang sa naririnig ko, artistic presentation, usually kung cinematic, motion picture. Pero yung halimbawa episode ng isang talk show o ng variety show na mukha namang spontaneous, hindi scripted, magiging qualitatively different pa yan doon sa tinuturing natin na artistic presentation. Anyone of you, Mark?
Yung sabi natin, yung tinatawag sa freedom of press, freedom of expression, or artistic presentation, hindi yan absolute. May mga limitation. Kasi palaging sinasabi ni Fowler na katawan daw niyan, may karapatan daw siya magsabi anong gusto niyang sabihin, Wala siyang pakialam, parang gano'n yung sinasabi niya. So, ang issue dito is the freedom of press or freedom of expression, including artistic presentation, absolute. May guarantee ang ating saligang batas about freedom of press, freedom of expression. But hindi absolute yan. May mga limitations. And one of the limitation, of course, is the law on libel in relation to cyber libel. Another limitation, hindi lang law on libel ang may limitation. Another limitation is actually Article 201 of the revised penal code. As long as, of course, yung ginagawa niya hindi lang immoral but also criminal. Kasi may mga test kasi dyan eh. So, yung pag-file ng kaso ng kapisanan, may message yan sa lahat po ng mga vloggers, sa lahat po ng mga social media users na hindi absolute ang ating karapatan bilang isang vlogger, bilang isang press or isang media personality or social media influencer. Hindi absolute. May mga limitasyon. Kasi, lalo na yung maraming mga followers. May iba dyan, million followers, kahit konting followers, but yung views, umabot ng millions ang views. So, it may affect the public. So, hindi lang sarili mo for expressing your expression, your artistic art or artistic talent ang pinag-usapan dito. But the effect to the public, the effect to the minds sa mga kabataan, lalo na yung pagkain ng ice cream o icing, katabi yung mga bata because the program is about isip bata. Second, general populace live yun. Hindi yun R18, R13 or ano. General populace, lahat pwede manood at prime time. 12 noon yata yun, 12 noon. And second, ito naman kay Miss Fowler, nandun yan sa Facebook. Sa Facebook yan, anybody can see it sa Facebook. Sa YouTube pala, sorry. Nasa YouTube yan. So, anybody can has access on it. So, kahit wala, hindi ka nakalagin, makita mo, pag-click mo lang, makita mo yung mga sayaw niya. Sumasayaw siya, with open arms, open legs, may mga plastic pa na sex organ na parang ginawa niyang sabon. Pero ginibas-ibas niya sa leeg niya. So that is not art. That is not artistic art or expression. So, may matatawag yan na immoral or indecent. So, yun ang kailangan niyang i-defend in court or even sa prosecutor's office or sa NBI. Kailangan niya i-defend na art yun. Kailangan niya i-defend na she's just expressing here her expression, her artistic talent. Kung hindi niya ma-prove yan, ibig sabihin, immoral yun. So, yun ang ibig sabihin doon. So, ang message sa kapisanan, hindi absolute ang freedom of press, freedom of expression, may limitation. And one of the limitation is Article 201 of the revised penal code.
Yun, dun sa nasa law school ako, ang isa po kong talagang natatandaan talagang drilling ko sa kanila ang aming guro. Yung freedom of expression is not an unbridled right. Hindi ibig sabihin, porque may karapatan tayong i-express ang ating paniniwala, hindi na ho natin iisipin kung ano naman po yung beliefs ng iba. Katulad po nung very recent na nangyari, may isang tao, nagbihis nung parang Santo Niño, pura-parada dyan, di ba? Ano sabi niya? Freedom of expression. Karamihan po ng mga Katoliko, gano'n na lang kamahal po ang Santo Niño. I think it was the one in Quiapo. Pero syempre na-offend yung sensibilities ng mga tao ngayon. Sana sa mga maghahayag ng kanilang expression, isipin naman nila yung kapangalan ng iba. Kasi minsan, kung sa kanila hindi okay lang, ang dating na po sa iba, malaswa. Sana meron bang self-censorship din, isipin yung kapakanan ng iba.
Last question ko na lang ito. Again, going back to Article 201, circumstance or specific act. Number 3, dito, letter B. those who in theaters, fairs, cinematographs, or any other place, exhibit indecent or immoral plays, scenes, acts, or shows, it being understood that the obscene literature or indecent or immoral plays, scenes, acts, or shows, whether live or in film, which are prescribed by virtue hereof, shall include those which, number one, glorify criminals or condone crimes. I think that is self-explanatory. Serve no other purpose but to satisfy the market for violence, lust, or pornography. Here, it depends. It depends on who is making the judgment or evaluation. The third one, offend any race or religion. Can you comment on that, Father? Offend any race or religion. There is specific reference to race, offend any race or religion. So, if an act or show or public material or any publication offend any race or religion, what does this mean from your understanding of this particular line in Article 201?
Yeah, I always follow the rule of legal hermeneutics that provisions of the law should be read in the context of the entire Philippine legal system, especially the Constitution. So when 201 criminalizes acts that offend any religion, I make a distinction. If a publication or a show or a comment or a portrayal is not in agreement with the moral teachings of a religion, fairly offensive. So for example, if a film shows a couple that is divorced and going through the divorce proceedings, well, divorce is certainly contrary to Catholic teaching, but that is not offensive in itself, because people should be free to express what they think as long as their means of expression is not offensive. However, the moment the show is one that is meant to ridicule a religious belief, for example, I do recall that not too long ago, somebody in drag dressed up like Jesus Christ, and the people around were singing Amanamin, which is of course a reenactment of a Catholic rite. That to me is offensive to religion. That to me is insulting to my Catholic faith. But if you come up with a movie, a presentation, a play that involves a scene, for example, involving homosexual sex or divorce, these are of course contrary to Catholic doctrine, but as long as they are part of the story, I would not feel offended by that. And I certainly would think that by legal standards, that's not meant to offend religious sensibilities. But when the portrayal is deliberately meant to demean, to ridicule, to spite religious beliefs, then that's where the crime lies, I think.
May we hear also the comment from the top most criminal lawyer, Undersecretary Mon Esguerra?
Well, there is a specific provision in the revised bill on offending religious feelings, and in fact there is an ongoing case about it at the moment. But of course, it's sub judice, cannot explain public. If you will look at 201 closely, there is something, there is an element of, if I may use the word publicity here. Okay. So that's why in number 1 alone, those who shall publicly expound or proclaim. Then when you talk of theaters, plays, cinematographs, or any other place, there is also an element of yes, that influence also to the public. So then you have to take the meaning of, you say, offend any race or religion in the context that the act or acts should also be indecent or immoral. I mean, they have to go together. So if the act offends any race or religion, but it is not really immoral or indecent, it will not fall. To me, that's my reading. It will not fall under 201(2)(b), 201(2)(b), but it may fall under. I'm trying to recall what that article is. It's another article in the revised penal code. Very rarely used. Cases or jurisprudence in the matter are old, but there is currently an ongoing case about this.
Is that ongoing case regarding the example that was mentioned by Father RANNIE?
I was out, I think.
This one that portrayed in drag attire,
No.
Jesus Christ.
It's different. That's different. That's different.
Maybe Senator Joey, the good Undersecretary, can also refer to the case of Celdran, because Celdran was convicted precisely under that mentioned provision of the revised penal code, offending religious sensibilities.
That's no longer an ongoing case.
Yeah, it's not ongoing.
Tapos na. Tapos na yun.
The ongoing case is the Puka case. The Puka case.
Okay, the one that portrayed Jesus Christ in drag attire. That is still an ongoing case. But the basis was that article. The cause of action is violation of that article, offensive to offending the sensibilities of the religious. Okay, so I think we've covered enough grounds. We will like to invite the members of the media. If there are any questions, please go to the microphone. If you have any question, anyone from the members of the media, please. By the way, the other members of the media who are unable to come will just refer to the link. We will provide them the transcript of what transpired because they were not able to come. There was a breaking news in Malacanang, so they had to cover that. So if there's no more question, so we can adjourn this KAPIHAN sa Manila Hotel. Maraming salamat. Din, RANNIE, maraming salamat po. Din, thank you.
Most welcome, and I was glad to be here.
Thank you.
See you in India, Din.
Next time, Father, face to face, we'll inform you well in advance of any KAPIHAN that will surely benefit from your insights, Father.
I'd just like to make a remark about the Kapisanan, and Mark Tolentino's crusade. I think the very salutary effect of their job is to elevate the standards of humor, the standards of shows, so that we do not settle for anything that is less than noble and excellent. So congratulations to the Kapisanan.
Alright, maraming salamat po, Father. Dean, thank you so much. Yusek, Mon, maraming salamat.
Thank you, Sonny.
And Attorney Mark, thank you. And Bernie. And Sonny, This has been another fruitful KAPIHAN sa Manila Hotel. So next Wednesday, we will have Mayor Benji Magalong and most probably Joy Belmonte and the others, maybe Vico Soto. We'll discuss this growing
Coalition for Good Governance.
Yes, Coalition for Good Governance. I think that will really be an exciting discussion because a lot of people talk about good governance. What is it all about? And is it achievable in our lifetime? Okay, maraming salamat po. Ay,
Maraming salamat.
you have a question? Oh, please. Yeah, please go to the microphone and just identify yourself first. Closer.
I would just like to ask po, how do you clarify something na offensive or not dun sa
Religion?
Yes po, kasi sinabi nga po na, pero parang feeling ko po mahihirapan yung writers na mag-conceptualize or parang feeling, ma-feel nila na parang may restrictions. Yun na po. I mean, meron po ba tayong guidelines? Yung magkakaroon po kayo ng guidelines regarding that?
Obscenity, the definition of obscenity.
No, I mean, kasi kung medyo,
As writer.
As writers po, minsan parang may isip nila, ay, okay ito, maganda ito, ganyan. And then, parang, meron, yung guidelines lang po, if magkakaroon po ganun. Kasi minsan parang there's green jokes and there's obscene. Yun po.
Okay. You'd like to... I think the context of the question is that she's a writer, for example. There's a good story, good quote and unquote. Whether the story will result into an obscene publication or offensive to religion or race, what are the guidelines or standards that she should observe in writing that story?
Mahirap pag ako lang ang babae. Okay. Ang bilis naman. Anyway, alam niyo yan, tanong niyo, yan talaga
Ladies
yung...
first.
Yung tanong po niyo, yan din po ang kadalasang tanong ng mga WES sa pag-decide po ng mga kaso na yan. Ano yung pamantayan, no? What will be... Kasi yung tanong ko kanina, may restrictions. Yes, there are restrictions. Because precisely freedom of speech or expression, hindi siya unbridled right. So ano yung pamantayan? Katulad ka ng diniscuss ng isang kaso dun sa isang editor-in-chief, ang sinabi ng Supreme Court, number one, may redeeming factor ba yan? May artistic value ba yan? O lantarang malaswalang ba yan? Anong pamantayan ang gagamitin natin? It is the standard of the Filipino community. I would like to believe that we have shared values. Okay, and these values will be the guideposts, the guidelines. So kung sa tingin mo, nakakabastos na doon sa magbabasa, siguro na yun na siguro yung built-in mechanism mo na maybe you would have to write it in another way or ensure that you will not be, crossing the line between decency and immorality. So that's my personal opinion.
Okay. Yusek, wala na.
I was about to say, you have your conscience. You pray, then pray that you write. You write the right thing.
I think the gist of what has been discussed is that in the ultimate analysis, it is the court that will decide what is obscene, immoral, or indecent. Sasabihin natin, the community standard, that will be the guidepost. But who will say, what is the community standard? It will still be the court that will say, ano yung perception, ano yung evaluation ng court? Ito ba yung community standard? Madaling isulat, that it's based on the community standard. But what that is the question. who will say that this is the community standard? It's still the court.
Pwede bang sumagot doon? Kahit na hindi panelist. Palagay ko at huwag naman natin dalhin masyado doon sa in-over-rationalize. Kasi lahat naman tayo pinaaral, required naman tayo mag-aral. At sa paaralan pa lang, very basic yung pagtuturo. Merong masama at merong mabuti. Hindi pwedeng makalampas ka doon sa sistema ng pag-aaral na yun. Na wala kang ni katiting o minimum quantum of a sense of right and wrong. Harapin na lang natin yun, and we will have more responsible citizenship. Salamat po.
Amen. Amen. Okay, maraming salamat sa inyo sa umagang ito ng ating pag-uusap sa KAPIHAN sa ito. Yeah, there is.
Thank you, Senator. Sorry po, I went to the men's room, but kami po sa kapisanan ng mga social media broadcasters ng Pilipinas Incorporated, we believe that the internet was the best thing that ever happened to mankind. However, nakita naman natin po that the worst thing happening now is the proliferation of fake news. Second, yung mga pang-aabuso ng mga users of the internet space. Yung mga kulang sa education ng mga vloggers. That is why ang kapisanan is here as an advocacy group to do our share to somehow send a strong signal sa lahat po ng aabuso ng internet, lahat po ng mga nagpa-practice ng irresponsible vlog posting. And we will do our share as a private group to file the necessary complaint before the appropriate courts. At sa tanong po earlier, the Secretary Sonny, kung napapanahon na ba na dapat i-regulate ang internet, kami
Bago, additional regulation. It's already regulated.
additional regulation. Thank you, Senator. We take strength in the comment of Senator Tulfo nung sinabi niya na dapat magkaroon na ng regulatory body for all users of the internet. And we take pride on that we now, as a private group, is starting this initiative. Thank you very much.
Okay, maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat, Bernie, Atty. Mark, Yusek ESGUERRA, and Dean MAWIS. Maraming salamat po. See you again next time.